Astronaut had just entered his hibernation pod when he realized it had malfunctioned. Even worse, the air inside was being rapidly drained away. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, his survival instinct unleashed incredible strength and he forced the pod door open. Realizing there was no way he could return to hibernation, he quickly pulled himself together and sent a distress signal back to Earth. But the system response left him completely stunned. The message would not reach Earth for another 19 years, and the reply would take 36 more years, meaning he would wait 55 years for an answer. The news filled him with despair, but what was even worse was that the colony ship still had 90 years left before reaching its destination. Jim was thrilled thinking he had found another person, but when he got closer, he discovered it was only a robotic bartender named Arthur. His spirits instantly hit rock bottom. After learning Jim had awakened early, Arthur encouraged him to enjoy the life ahead. The endless loneliness left him drifting through each day, often complaining to the empty ship about his fate. Yet that very outburst led Jim to discover a hidden space behind the hibernation pods. Inside were 2 spacesuits, with guidance from the ship system. Jim suited up, then pressed the button with the help of magnetic boots. After securing a tether, he moved to the edge of the ship. For the first time he faced the vast universe with nothing between them. After taking one last look around, he released the magnetic lock and drifted into space. Staring at the dark yet dazzling stars, Jim could not hold back his emotions. In that moment, loneliness swallowed him like a bottomless abyss. He saw no hope for the future. To escape the endless pain, he returned to the airlock. All he had to do was press the red button, and the rushing air would instantly carry him away, bringing an end to his unfortunate journey. In the end, fear made him step back, yet that moment of hesitation led him to notice a woman who would change his life forever, named Aurora. Her appearance gave Jim hope again, and ultimately changed the fate of everyone aboard the ship. From that day on, Jim visited the sleeping Aurora every single day, reading through her profile, while smiling to himself. The beautiful and gentle Aurora was everything he had ever wanted, yet no matter how close she was, he could never truly reach her. One day he noticed a repair manual beside another hibernation pod, and a dangerous thought crossed his mind: to wake the beautiful woman himself.
I know how to wake Aurora up.
That seems like a fine idea. You could use some company.
I'd be stranding her on this ship for the rest of her life.
Well, you can't do that.
Jim angrily slapped Arthur, believing a machine could never understand human suffering. From that day forward, he struggled with his conscience every single day. But once the idea took root, he could not shake it. After a long and painful inner battle, his selfish desire finally won out. He shaved off his messy beard and put on clean clothes. Carrying a toolbox, he quietly approached the sleeping Aurora. He tampered with the hibernation pod, causing a circuit failure. Moments later, Aurora slowly opened her eyes. Jim's excitement instantly turned into anxiety and fear. He had no idea whether what he had done was right or wrong, but what was done, and he had no choice but to face it. In the depths of despair, a person's sense of morality becomes fragile. When self-preservation clashes with helping others, most people lean towards selfishness. Every form of salvation built on another person's sacrifice comes with a heavy price. After gathering himself, Jim walked into the ship's central hall. There he found Aurora looking just as confused as he once had. He lied and said he had also awakened by accident, and had been living alone aboard the ship for an entire year.
The other passengers aren't late waking up. We were early.
The two headed to the ship's command deck together. Jim explained that he had tried every available tool, but never managed to open the sealed access door.
How long have you been awake?
A year and 3 weeks.
No.
After learning she might spend the rest of her life alone on the ship, Aurora immediately became overwhelmed with panic. She rushed back to her hibernation pod, hoping to re-enter sleep and wait out the journey. Jim quickly urged her to calm down. Every possible solution had already been attempted, and none of them had worked. After hearing that, Aurora reluctantly gave up the idea. She said goodbye to Jim and returned to her room. Jim then found Arthur, and asked him to keep the secret of Aurora's awakening. Arthur readily agreed. Aurora's wristband allowed access to higher quality meals. After learning that Jim had spent more than a year eating only potatoes, Aurora kindly ordered him a gourmet meal. She asked Jim whether there was any way to return to hibernation. Jim shared the lonely experiences of his past year. Even after hearing everything, Aurora refused to give up hope. She went to the command deck alone and tried to open the sealed door, but no matter how hard she tried, nothing happened. Exhausted in both body and mind, she eventually had to give up. As time slowly passed, Aurora gradually adapted to life aboard the ship. She documented every unexpected event from the journey. Aurora later approached Jim, hoping to interview him.
You were the first hibernation failure in the history of space travel.
She was curious why he had chosen to leave Earth behind. Jim explained that on Earth people rarely repaired broken things. They simply replaced them with something new. But in an unknown new world, countless problems would arise, and solving difficult problems was what he did best. Aurora felt Jim was unlike any man she had ever met, and the two began spending more and more time together. Back on Earth, they might have remained parallel lines forever, but inside this steel ship they were each other's only support. Using everything he had learned from Aurora's videos, Jim always found topics that captured her interest. They played fun dance games together, played basketball together, and watched their favorite movies together, just like a couple deeply in love. Wanting to take their relationship a step further, Jim modified a cleaning robot and used it to deliver a romantic invitation. Aurora happily wrote down her answer on a piece of paper. Jim took Aurora to the ship's space experience area. The two put on heavy spacesuits and stepped outside the spacecraft. Jim helped her release the magnetic restraints attached to her suit. Together they drifted freely through the vast and mysterious cosmos. Aurora was deeply amazed by this once-in-a-lifetime experience. At that moment, the distance between them completely disappeared. Their joyful moments made them temporarily forget they were stranded aboard the ship. Jim discovered a special greenhouse designed for growing plants. Every little surprise during their time time together filled Aurora with happiness. They even witnessed the breathtaking sight of the ship passing by Arcturus. Before they knew it, Aurora's birthday had arrived. Jim invited a robotic attendant to help celebrate her birthday. After dinner they headed to Arthur's small bar. Aurora said there were no secrets left between her and Jim. Hearing that, Arthur curiously asked Jim to confirm. Jim nodded and gave a positive answer before walking away. This led Arthur to believe Aurora already knew the truth about being awakened. Jim took out a ring he had prepared and planned to propose to Aurora, but Arthur accidentally revealed the secret Jim had hidden for so long.
Oh, he spent months deciding whether to wake you up. He couldn't stop talking about you.
For Aurora, the revelation hit like a bolt from the blue.
Jim woke me up.
Oh, yes. He said it was the hardest decision of his life.
Just then Jim happened to walk in.
Did you wake me up?
Yes, I woke you up.
Aurora could hardly believe what she had just heard. Jim's selfish decision had completely destroyed the life she was meant to have.
How could you do it?
Aurora, please.
Stay away from me.
Jim stood frozen and speechless, not knowing how to explain himself. Aurora returned to her room and completely broke down emotionally. She unleashed all the anger and pain she had been holding inside. That night she stormed into Jim's room and vented her frustration directly at him. But when she picked up the crowbar, she ultimately could not go through with it. After that, the two fell into a long cold war. Building trust takes countless words, but destroying it takes only one truth. Honesty is always the highest price, because hiding the truth often leaves scars that last a lifetime. One night a few days later, the ship suddenly lost power, then restarted within seconds. The displays began glitching. At this point there were too many error codes to even show. The core power system was under immense strain, and the main control network completely shut down. Failures started spreading throughout the ship. The elevator system stopped working. Food service also went offline. Just then a stranger's voice suddenly came over the intercom.
Deck Chief Gus Mancuso? Who the hell planted a tree on my ship? Who did that?
I did.
After being confronted by Aurora, Jim had tried every possible way to earn forgiveness, including public apologies over the ship-wide broadcast, and apologizing face-to-face, but she still could not forgive him. Eventually Jim found some plants aboard the ship and moved them into the main hall, and it turned out to be a pretty good idea. Seeing living plants inside the cold steel ship seemed to touch Aurora's heart. When the captain awakened and saw the two passengers already awake, he knew something was seriously wrong, because only a major malfunction could cause a hibernation pod to fail. The bridge that had remained inaccessible to Jim for 2 years could finally be entered, but when the captain opened the main control console, there were no fault warnings at all. That meant even the ship's most basic diagnostic systems had failed. With no other option, the captain grabbed a data pad and led the two of them through a deck-by-deck inspection.
Look out!
This guy makes 15.
I was trapped in the cabin for 2 days.
You were.
Things like that don't happen. Not on this ship.
Each deck of the ship was equipped with 16 technical control stations. The captain had the two split up and insert the data pad into each station to read the ship's fault logs, while he inspected the 3 hibernation pods on his own. It did not take long for him to uncover clues and realize what Jim had done. The captain looked at Jim's data pad with a serious expression. Problems were appearing throughout the ship, yet none of them could be fixed quickly. When Aurora noticed Jim was absent, she asked the captain to deliver justice and punish the man responsible. During their conversation, the captain suddenly began coughing violently. The 3 assumed it was a normal reaction after awakening and urged him to rest, but as the captain returned to his quarters, he coughed up blood. Late that night, Aurora could not calm her thoughts and went alone to the pool area, completely unaware that this decision could cost her life. At that moment, the ship suddenly lost power. As everyone learns in school, the ship's gravity was created by centrifugal force from its rotating ring. Now the rotation stopped abruptly. Without gravity, the water gathered into a floating sphere. Aurora desperately tried to swim out, but in zero gravity there was nothing to push against. Every stroke only caused her to spin in place with the current. She could not move at all. Just in time, the ship's power returned. The instant the ring restarted, Jim was slammed hard onto the floor by the sudden gravity. Ignoring the pain, the two hurried off to find the captain. Only then did they realize how serious the situation was. No one knew whether the ship would survive another day. The captain understood better than anyone how devastating a gravity system failure could be. Many processors had already burned out, and shipwide systems were operating beyond their limits. The captain led them toward the core engineering section to trace the source of the failures, but the area was enormous and extremely complex. The ship might fail completely before they finished one inspection round. Even worse, the captain's health was rapidly deteriorating. The two waited anxiously outside the medical bay. They thought it was only a minor issue that could be treated quickly. The captain slowly stepped out of the medical pod, after attempting treatment with the highest authorization, only to be told by the AI that treatment was unnecessary. The captain knew he had only a few hours left and no longer had the energy to investigate. After all, no one wants to spend their final moments working. Before long, the ship lost power once again. The piercing alarms would not stop sounding. After searching everywhere, they finally found the captain at the observation deck. He was dressed formally, because it had been his daughter's favorite outfit. The lonely captain invited them to sit beside him and accompany him through his final moments. Before collapsing, he removed his authorization bracelet and handed it to Jim, urging him to find the cause of the malfunction.
Take care of each other.
The two had no time to grieve and immediately rushed toward the core engineering section. The ship shook violently along the way. One mistake could easily become fatal. Fortunately they reached the core engineering section safely, but faced with the complex machinery Jim had no idea where to begin. Making matters worse, several doors had locked due to system failures. The two had to spend valuable time forcing them open. Just as the door was about to close, Jim let go and allowed himself to be pulled inside, using his body to hold the door open, but he felt completely hopeless, because he had no idea how to save Aurora. The massive suction from the damaged hull violently pulled at both of them. They were moments away from being dragged out into space. Then he suddenly spotted the data pad, and planned to use it to seal the breach, but it was too far away to reach, so he slowly lowered himself toward it. Looking up, Jim realized there was more than one hole in the ship. It was clear that the meteor had pierced the hull years earlier, passing through multiple sections along the way. The two followed the meteor's path through the ship, eventually reaching a scorching corridor glowing with yellow light. When they opened the door, they froze in place. A massive stream of fire was spinning wildly behind a glass barrier. The reactor's main control computer had been struck directly by the meteor, and the meteor fragment remained lodged deep inside the structure. Fortunately, the ship carried a matching replacement part. With Aurora helping him, Jim successfully installed the spare component. But another problem appeared immediately. The reactor's heat could not be vented properly. Jim tried several procedures, but nothing worked. The reactor vent had to be opened manually from outside the ship, otherwise the entire vessel would soon be destroyed. Jim put on a heavy spacesuit and grabbed thermal protection gear, preparing to open the vent from outside. He successfully reached the external vent channel, and forced the jammed vent door open, but the moment he let go it slammed shut again. That meant if the heat was going to escape, Jim had to remain at the vent, enduring the constant blast of extreme temperatures. He urgently told Aurora to pull the vent control lever, but Aurora hesitated to make the choice. The reactor temperature continued climbing higher and higher. The protective glass could fail at any moment. A powerful wave of heat suddenly hurled Jim into the darkness of space, and snapped the safety tether attached to him. In the distance, the reactor successfully released its excess heat, and the ship's control systems returned to normal. A large tear had been ripped into Jim's spacesuit, and his oxygen supply was nearly gone. He drifted aimlessly through the cold emptiness of space, giving Aurora a final farewell as he faced the ship.
Aurora, I'm sorry. For everything.
Jim completed his redemption at the ultimate cost. If awakening Aurora revealed humanity's darker side, then this act of self-sacrifice revealed its brightest side. Aurora immediately put on a spacesuit, and accurately located Jim drifting in space. She quickly flew toward him, but her safety tether was not long enough to reach him. The tether pulled Aurora back toward the ship. Fortunately, she managed to grab the broken section of Jim's tether, and successfully brought the barely responsive Jim back inside. Aurora carefully placed Jim into the ship's medical pod. The medical system showed no detectable vital signs. Using the captain's high-level authorization bracelet, Aurora activated every emergency treatment protocol. After intensive treatment, Jim was finally out of danger. Jim then discovered the medical pod could also function as a hibernation chamber. He wanted Aurora to return to hibernation and complete the journey, because there was only one medical pod on the entire ship. Jim was prepared to face the long years of solitude once again. This time Aurora had the chance to choose for herself, but she chose without hesitation to stay by Jim's side, and Jim finally proposed to Aurora. 88 long years passed, and the ship successfully arrived at humanity's second home. All the sleeping passengers were awakened by the system. When everyone gathered in the ship's central hall, they were deeply moved by what stood before them. The space told the story of the life Jim and Aurora had shared together aboard the ship. That concludes today's story.